You are watching The Word Exposed. Here we will try to listen to God who speaks to us today through the sacred scriptures. Join me in beholding the truth of God's unwavering love for us. A pleasant morning to you, my dear brothers and sisters. Today we contemplate the mystery of God as the Most Holy Trinity. The Father who created the universe, the Son who saved us from death, and the Holy Spirit who breathes life into us. In the Gospel, Jesus commands us to go to the world and make disciples, to baptize them in the name of the Triune God, with the promise that He will be with us forever. According to Jesus, the Holy Spirit will not invent new truth. The Holy Spirit will lead us to the truth that Jesus has already taught. When you have the Holy Spirit, you can speak and explore different languages to address people of different needs. Barriers and boundaries of discrimination, division, and injustice should disappear. The diversity of the gifts should not be a hindrance to the strengthening of the church. God chooses all.
A reading from the book of Deuteronomy. Moses said to the people, "Ask now of the days of old, before your time, ever since God created man upon the earth. Ask from one end of the sky to the other. Did anything so great ever happen before? Was it ever heard of? Did a people ever hear the voice of God, speaking from the midst of fire as you did and live? Or did any God venture to go and take a nation for himself from the midst of another nation by testings, by signs and wonders, by war, with strong hand and outstretched arm, and by great terrors, all of which the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your very eyes? This is why you must now know and fix in your heart that the Lord is God in the heavens above and on earth below, and that there is no other. You must keep His statutes and commandments that I enjoin on you today, that you and your children after you may prosper, and that you may have long life on the land which the Lord your God is giving you forever." The word of the Lord.
Our first reading on this solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity comes from the book of Deuteronomy. The Holy Trinity. This is our way of expressing in creedal form what the Bible tells us about the God who has revealed Himself as love. The God of love is the Trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. In the first reading for today, we hear from Moses a series of questions addressed to the people Israel. And the first lines of his line of questioning is something like, "Have you ever realized the greatest event in your life? This is the greatest event in your life. Have you ever pondered what it is?" And from the questions that he raises, for Moses, the greatest event in the life of Israel was not so much an event that can be calendared, but the person of God. The God who speaks to His people. The God of dialogue. The personal God who expresses to His people His heart, His thoughts. Now that is great for Moses. A God who approaches His people and talks with them. As though that were not enough, Moses even says that our God chose us among the many nations of the world to make us His own. This God does not only reach out to us by dialoguing with us, this God even chooses us. Why us? Simply out of His love, His will. And then, this God labors for His people. He defends these people from their enemies, and He liberates them from the experience of slavery in Egypt. The greatest event in the life of Israel is God Himself, the God of love, the God who gets out of His shell to dialogue with people, the God who chooses out of love and claims them as His own, the God who will do anything in order for His people to find freedom. This is how Moses describes our God. Later on, as revelation and salvation history continues to unfold, this God is revealed to us as Trinity. But in the Old Testament, the notion, the experience of God as love was very much alive in a loving relationship that God initiates with His people. Now, Saint Paul later on would even deepen this in terms of our response. But Moses already indicates also that having a God who comes close to us, who calls us, who chooses us, who forms us as a community, as a nation, and who labors for us, needs a response from us. For love to be complete, that love must become a dialogue too. God initiates an action of love towards us. How do we respond to God? According to Moses, follow the commandments of God. Obey God. God has made clear to His people what His desires are. And they are meant for life, for the fullness of life of His people. So, what is expected is for the people to say, "Yes, Lord. Yes. You have spoken to us, we will follow you." And Moses assures them, those who accept the love of God and responds to God with equal love, they will live. They will experience prosperity. They will experience how life is when there is full of love. So, this Sunday, as we contemplate the mystery of our God as love, let it lead us also to ourselves and the mystery of our life. Will we find life in God? Will we find life in our faith in the God of love?